Welcome to the Not Just Waiting podcast. I'm your host, Rihanna Hoffman, and this is a space for women learning to wait well and live fully. Whether you're in the middle of uncertainty, transition, or just figuring out what's next, this podcast is here to remind you you are not behind, not forgotten, and definitely not just waiting. Let's dig into truth, grow in courage, and hold on to hope together. Welcome back to the Not Just Waiting podcast. I am so glad you're here today. This episode is going to be part life update, part biblical encouragement, because lately I've been thinking nobody really wants to know what's on the inside. We tend to cover up the messy, the painful, the hidden parts, but the good news is God sees it all. And today we're going to read some of Psalm 139, and he tells us that he calls us wonderfully made. So I'm going to share what's been going on with me, because you know I love a good plan. And then we're going to dig into Psalms 139 together. Backstory. You may have noticed that we took a break in July. There was more than one reason to that. One of those reasons being that I actually had surgery. I had an excision of my endometriosis surgery. That was a laparoscopic surgery. In July, it kind of took me kind of by surprise. If you've noticed, you may not have noticed, but I've noticed my brain isn't working completely as you would think it would be. So I may take a little more time than I normally do talking, trying to find a word. It might look weird on the podcast episode when I cut it because it's taking me a little longer to think because I had surgery about 6 weeks ago. So with my endometriosis surgery, I had no idea that I had endometriosis. I had been going to the doctor for about a year. I had some weird symptoms about other things. And I was like, hey, they think I have this. They think I have this. This doctor says this. They referred me to an endocrinologist. The endocrinologist was like, you totally have this thing. I wasn't convinced. I went back to another doctor and she's like, you don't have this thing, but will you go get this test to confirm that you do not have it? And I was like, yes, anything to confirm that I do not have it. I'm tired of having this on my medical record. I can't take medication for it. It's not working. So I went and had this test done, and that test found 2 cysts on my ovaries, which are endometriomas. Some people call them chocolate cysts, depending upon how well versed you are in endometriosis. And they were very large. I had no idea where they were there. And you know, when they're like scanning and they're talking to you and talking to you and talking to you, and then they get quiet, you're like, great, there's something wrong. So I got the test results for that back very quickly within 24 hours. The doctor referred me to get an MRI, which is also scary. I'd never had an MRI before. And I went to go get my MRI and they had to give me an IV and it was a whole thing. And that's a whole nother story that we're going to talk about in a minute. But when I got the MRI, it confirmed what the first test had said that I had. And they're like, okay, cool. And there was a mix-up between the doctors. My doctor that had referred me to get these tests done is a PA, and so she couldn't do my surgery. So she referred me to the surgeon. And the surgeon had thought that the PA had talked to me already, and they hadn't. And all I had read were my medical notes and my chart on my phone. And I know just enough because I had a phenomenal anatomy and physiology teacher in high school, thanks Miss Erin Fortenberry, that I knew just enough to get in trouble. And so my brother is in medical school. I called him and said, hey, what does this mean? And he goes on a 30-minute rampage of what this means and what they're going to do because he just so happened to get off that rotation. And it was like 12:30 in the morning because that's the only time he can seem to answer the phone. And he goes on this 30-minute rampage. I have a mild meltdown. My husband probably would not have called it mild. I had a mild meltdown because I learned all of this information while at my mom's house for Mother's Day. And I couldn't really talk about it because I was having a flare-up for the issue that I was having. It was my first ever legit endometriosis flare-up, and it lasted, I think, 14 days. You know, after you hurt for so long, you forget to count how many days. It was horrible, awful, do not recommend it. If you've ever had endometriosis, I would love to chat about it. We can talk about pain management and what to do and how you just live on your couch for a few days. But I was on my mom's couch, which made it even, I don't want to say worse, but we were supposed to be visiting and having a great time, and I was literally bound to the couch, and my husband wasn't there because he was at home because he had to work, and so that was a whole nother layer. And so I was processing all of these things that were going on inside of me, and I really didn't know or want to know what was going on inside my body. Endometriosis is one of those things that you can't diagnose typically by like an ultrasound or an MRI. It's usually you have to go have a laparoscopic surgery that's completely exploratory just to see where the endometriosis is growing. And when you see endometriomas, the cysts that were on my ovaries, it's not really a good thing. According to my brother, who's in medical school, that automatically puts you at stage 3 endometriosis. And I'm like, great. And my surgeon was pretty confident that it was in more than my ovaries. And, that's a scary thing because you're like, oh, you have things growing on your reproductive organs. What is that going to affect later? We'll get to that in a minute. But after about 6 weeks, so I found out Mother's Day and my surgery was scheduled for the middle of July. We knew it was going to be laparoscopic. It was supposed to be outpatient. We didn't really tell anybody because I have some anxiety and I didn't want to constantly be thinking about it, constantly be answering questions. We told a handful of people that we do life with every day, every week, and so we were taken care of, but people want to know what's going on in your life. So I ended up having surgery in the morning was the first surgery. It's like, this is gonna be great. It started with I get to go back there. My husband gets to go back there with me. They have to put in your IV because you have to have IVs for surgery. And they missed the first time. They got the second one, but they didn't actually get it. It led to I don't want to say traumatic experience in the OR, but it is definitely one of those experiences I'm not going to forget because it took quite a few jabs, stabs, sticks to get an IV that was actually working. And they were doing it in the OR instead because they had to put me to sleep and they weren't able to get a vein and it was a whole thing. But once they figured that out, I was under, and my surgery was only supposed to last an hour and a half. It lasted almost 4. My poor husband in the waiting room had no idea what was going on. I was out, like, best nap ever, but woke up feeling a million times better, which is not typically what happens when you have surgery. Typically, you feel worse because they have messed with things in your body. I felt a million times better. Had they disconnected me from all of the things that they were measuring, I could have probably run a marathon around the hospital. But woke up, actually had to stay the night for my inpatient surgery, my outpatient surgery. It ended up, I lost more blood than they anticipated. It's a whole kit caboodle. Would love to tell you about it. Could probably take an hour to do it. But it just is a testament of what was going on inside of me that I had no idea about physically. And a couple weeks later, when I had post-op with my surgeon, he walks in and goes, I'm still tired from your surgery. And I was like, wait, what? And he ended up telling us that my surgery and where the endometriosis was growing and how it was growing and what it was connected to and what it encompassed was ridiculous, and he had never seen anything like it. And my husband said that I was on that doctor's Hall of Fame because of my stage 4 endometriosis. But when you have surgery, you also have the pre-surgery mental thing that you're like, what's going to happen? What's going to go on? How do I function with this? What do I need to prep for? And then you have the day of the surgery that you're like, okay, I'm okay. Everything's fine. Lord, you're sovereign. You've got this. It's good. And like the night before, I was actually actively in the middle of an endometriosis flare-up. And I'm like, Lord, it has to be better than this. It has to be better than this. It has to be better than this, because I was also couch-bound for another, I think that was day 6 of that flare-up. And my husband, I had no idea how anxious he was, and we had a conversation the night before and that morning of. And so I didn't know what was going on with him because he was trying to be strong for me, and he was so anxious and so terrified. And I wasn't going to get choked up, but I kind of did, so give me a second. But when I had the surgery and I came out of the surgery, first thing I did was ask for him. And they're like, well, give us a second. I took another great nap. And then post-op, I kept asking questions because my doctor came in. He's like, I can't believe what I found. Like, this is insane. How do you feel? I said, I feel great. And he was like, that's wild. And I kept asking, how long is recovery going to be? Like, how long is recovery going to be? And he couldn't answer me because he didn't know, because he knew what he had just pulled out of my body. But he wasn't sure how long it was going to take me to recover, because each body is different based on how well you behave. I behaved during post-op, believe it or not, and he just couldn't tell me. And so when you have to recover from something and your body feels phenomenal, it's really hard to be patient and wait and just exist for a while, because you feel great on the outside. And this is the first time, it was the best I had felt in probably 18 months, maybe 2 years. And I felt great. Like, I felt like I could go walk for miles, and I could jump up and down and lift everything. But in those moments in post-op, they're like, hi, you can't do this, you can't do that. One of the big things for me was I couldn't lift anything over 20 to 30 pounds. And you're like, Rena, that sounds like a ton. That is equivalent to a baby. So I am the best, most favorite aunt in our community is what I'm going to call it. It's my favorite job. I love all my little people, my mini BFFs, and I'm absolutely obsessed with them. Like, if I don't get a hug from very specific mini BFFs, I get in the car on Sundays, and I'm very sad about it. And my husband laughs at me because he's like, you can just get one next week. I'm like, yes, but now I have to go a whole week without that child's hug. He's like, you're ridiculous. But that means if I can't lift anything above 30 pounds, I can't pick up my mini BFFs. I can't like hold them all the way and snuggle with them and pick them up and listen to them talk about their day and them feel safe and secure and loved. And some of my mini BFFs, even this week, have been like, when is your tummy issue going to be resolved? Which is what their mom explained to them had happened to me because I have incisions on my tummy. And she asked me on Sunday, when is your tummy issue going to be fixed? I miss you picking me up. And I gave her, I think October 1st is when I can pick up stuff again that's bigger than 30 pounds. And she just kind of was like, I was like, I feel the same way, man. So when we're in this waiting season, I'm actively in the waiting season of getting to pick up and love my little people. And then the other whole arm of that, you've probably noticed that we're recording in a different space. We are in our new house. Do you know that boxes weigh more than 30 pounds? So I have had to pack and watch all of my friends move us. The Lord was so gracious and so kind and sent us so many people to come help us. And it took less than 2 hours to load the truck and unload the truck at the new house with a 20-minute commute. So kind, so gracious, Lord, so good. Our friends are amazing. But I literally was told over and over and over and over again, you're not allowed to pick up anything. You're not allowed to pick up anything. You're not allowed to pick up anything. And for those of you that know me, I am a she woman. Not a he-man, but a she-woman. I feel like you need that explanation because I said that to one of our friends that was in college the other day, and he was like, what? I have always been one of the guys and have been able to pick up almost anything for my entire life, and I'm not allowed to pick up anything. I picked up a case of water the other day because I was like, I need to get this in my house. It was the first time I got to pick up groceries because groceries weigh more than 30 pounds, in case you didn't know. I was like, I'm going to carry the case of water into the new house so that we have water for Saturday. Big mistake. Big mistake. Still cannot pick up things bigger than 18-month-olds. So there's that information. And it's been so interesting that the Lord, in his goodness and his sovereignty, has chosen to let us wait in this season as we're relaunching, not just waiting, as we're relaunching my Substack, as we're having the conversations about waiting and how to actively wait and not passively wait. There were definitely days when I was couchbound that I was passively waiting instead of actively waiting. And I noticed it because there were some days that I was on my computer working. And then there were some days that I was laying on my couch watching an episode of this new show that I started to keep me awake post-surgery. And when we're in those seasons, both of those are good, but I can't just sit on my couch and watch a show for 6 weeks. That's not healthy. That's not productive. That's not what recovery is going to look like. But actively waiting in the same vein is you get to keep doing what you're doing while you're waiting. So the things that I can do right now, I can unpack boxes. So I have been unpacking boxes all morning. I can write for Substack. I can record some podcasts. I can bake for my friends. I can text people. I can ask for updates. I can listen. I can share a cup of coffee. So the things that are holding me back aren't necessarily holding me back in the way that I think they are. They are teaching me to rest and to help and encourage and equip others in other ways that I never would have dreamed of if all I could do was pick up a box or pick up a child. And a lot of times I am the muscular, like, hey, how can we help? I've had 2 or 3 friends this summer move and I can't pick up boxes. But I did text and say, hey, do you need me to watch your kids? I can do that. Whereas before that, I would have been like, yeah, I'm going to go pick up boxes and somebody else can watch their kids while they move. And in this season, I get to be the person that gets to watch the kids. And it has been so interesting to me to learn how to redo things and do things in a different manner. So a couple weeks ago, we got the privilege of watching some of our friends' littlest foster loves. We were watching an 18-month-old and a 5-year-old, and many times it's instinct to just pick them up and be like, okay, like, let me console you. And these children, like the 5-year-old weighs as much as a 5-year-old does, which is way more than 30 pounds. And the 18-month-old weighs right at 30 pounds, and they had stairs at their house. And it's kind of hard holding a 30-pound child and walking upstairs with very few abdominal muscles that have gotten their lives back together. And I was having to learn how to do things that would assist these children that I'm taking care of in a different manner. So that I couldn't pick them up, I would let them roam around, or we would just choose to do things differently instead of my immediate instinct. And so I've been able to retrain my brain in that way that has led me to some crazy creativity, because it was moving my neural pathways out of the rut that they had been in from doing the same thing over and over and over again. So this season of waiting post-surgery, I was going to say pre-recovery, but I'm not sure that there is going to be a pre-recovery. It's not like there's an aha date of everything is back to normal. I'm just learning how to do life differently at the moment. The Lord has been teaching me how to actively wait when I don't want to. Because passively waiting is so much easier and so much more convenient. And I mean, sitting on my couch, eating cookies, drinking coffee, because I don't get to do that very often, and watching a movie is so much more fun than having to use my brain and create new content and create things that people want to listen to and are expected. I don't want to say expecting. That people want to listen to and are encouraging to them in a season that's not all the way encouraging for me has been hard. But that's what the Lord has called me to. And in this season, I've gotten to write some cool stuff. One of those things just so happens to be a conference, because I'm a nerd and I love creating things for other people to teach and lead and guide and direct. It's just, I was a teacher for a season, loved it, super equipped to do it. And so I accidentally wrote a conference about Psalms 139. It's called the Wonderfully Made Conference. Caveat, if you want me to come help you put on this Wonderfully Made Conference, it is already written and organized, and there's a timeline and an itinerary. I just don't have anywhere to put it / host it. So if you're like, hey, that sounds great, but I have very minimal budget, just let me know. I'd love to host. I'd love to do all the things for you. But while I accidentally wrote this conference, Psalm 139 in my brain was always like, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works. My soul knows it right well. And I was like, okay, it's just fearfully and wonderfully made. Cool. And in the season, I'm like, my body is broken. I don't feel very fearfully and wonderfully made. I don't know how to understand this, Lord, because I know that I was fearfully and wonderfully made, and maybe I was fearfully and wonderfully made before I got this diagnosis. And in this season, the Lord's been like, no, you're still fearfully and wonderfully made. I still created you. I knit you together. You have all the genes. You have all the personality. You have all the freckles that you're supposed to have. I knew this was going to happen. I knew what it was going to teach you, and I knew how this experience was going to lead you somewhere else. Can't wait to see where that somewhere else is. But when I think about being fearfully and wonderfully made, I don't immediately think, okay, stage 4 endometriosis with who knows what else going on. All the things that we don't see on the inside that nobody wants to know about. I did not want to know that I had stage 4 endometriosis. I've probably had it for years. It doesn't typically just grow overnight from no endometriosis to stage 4. And the stuff that was growing on the inside of me, I had no idea about. But once it came to the light, I immediately went from fearfully and wonderfully made to broken. And there was nothing that changed that. There was no I'm going to say act of God, because we just moved into a house, and in the fine print, it's like an act of God, which means hurricanes, fires, tornadoes, things like that. There was no crazy thing that just happened and changed my body. What changed was what I knew about my body. And it went from one test that was like, hi, we're proving that you don't have this one thing, to, oh my goodness, you have these 2 ginormous endometriomas. We got to do something about it. And for me, walking into that appointment to walking out, nothing in my body changed. I had the same clothes on. I had the same hairstyle. I had eaten the same thing for lunch. Nothing changed. And so when I was accidentally writing this conference for Psalm 139 and I'm reading fearfully and wonderfully made, I knit you together in your mother's womb, I was like, okay, so am I still good even though all the things within me are broken? Am I still good even though I now have this label and I have these scars that have marred my body? Am I still good even though I can't do all of the things that I thought I was supposed to do? Am I still good even though I can't love my mini BFFs? Am I still good even though I can't pick up the boxes and unpack them for my brand new house? Am I still good even though we can't host people for 2 weeks, or that I can't clean my house and my house is going to be dirty for however long because I can't do it? And in that season, and in this current season, the Lord's like, you're still fearfully and wonderfully made. Your body is still good, and I'm going to send people to help you actively wait. So I wasn't expected to clean my house. My husband did that. I wasn't really expected to do anything. My husband did everything. He's incredible and phenomenal and a gem. And I got to see that in this season that I never would have otherwise, because there's just something about somebody taking care of you that you're like, oh, this is how the Lord works and moves and controls our lives. And then I would not have been able to see all of our friends that were rallying behind us that had some of which had no idea that I had had surgery until we get to my house on Saturday and are packing up everything. And people are yelling at me, don't pick that up. Leave it alone. And one of our friends goes, why is everybody telling you not to touch anything? Like, you do everything. What do you mean? I was like, I had surgery about 6 weeks ago. And she's like, I'm sorry, what? And so she has her child strapped to her back, and her husband had their other child. They have twins strapped to their back. And they're carrying these 20-pound babies on their backs and then have a 50-pound box in front of them. And I'm just standing and watching and looking at how the Lord has provided in crazy, amazing ways. And so in Psalms 139, I'm going to read it to you. But in Psalms 139, we always hear you're fearfully and wonderfully made, but we forget the beginning and the end of it. And so in Psalms 1, it says, you have searched me, Lord, and you know me. You know when I sit and when I rise. You perceive me. You perceive my thoughts from afar. You discern my going out and my lying down. You are familiar with all of my ways. Before a word is on my tongue, you, Lord, know it completely. You hem me in behind and before, and you lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too lofty for me to attain. Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to the heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there. If I rise on the wings of the dawn, if I settle on the far side of the sea, even there your hands will guide me, your right hand will hold me fast. If I say, surely darkness will hide me, and the light become night around me, even the darkness will not be dark for you. The night will shine like the day, for darkness is a light to you. And then it goes, for you created my innermost beings. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know it full well. And that was verse 1 through 14. But before you get to the fearfully and wonderfully made, it tells us how deeply the Lord knows us and how he knows our thoughts. He knows our inmost beings. He knows the things that we enjoy. He knows the things that we love. And he is a good God that loves his kids. And in this season, he's reminding me that he knows all of me. He knows the good parts. He knows the broken parts. He knows the messy parts. He knows the thoughts that I have. He knows what I value and what I'm passionate about. He knows the little people that I adore, the friends that I cannot wait to do life with. He knows all of the things. He knows my frustrations, which have been a lot recently. He knows my fears. He knows my desires. And he knew those things before he knit me together in my mother's womb, because he made me fearfully and wonderfully. And my body is still good, even though it's kind of broken at the moment, even though it's healing, even though I'm in the season of learning things that I didn't expect to be learning. And he's actively teaching me what waiting looks like in a different realm. I thought I had mastered this. Fun fact, none of us have mastered this, because we're all going to be consistently waiting for something until Jesus comes back. And whether it's a new job or a baby or a house or friends or just the grass to grow, we're all waiting on something, a new season, a change, a transition, or Jesus just to come back, because we really need him. We're all waiting for something, and we're all in the process of learning how to wait well, even when it's not fun, even when it's hard, even when it's frustrating, even when you don't know what to do and what steps to take. The Lord is guiding us because it says, you have searched me and you know me. And you know when I sit and when I rise, you perceive my thoughts from afar. You discern my going out and my lying down. You are familiar with all of my ways. Before a word is on my tongue, you, Lord, know it completely. So how awesome is it that we get to serve a God who knows us so completely, the insides of us that we don't want anybody to know, the outsides of us that we want everyone to perceive, and all the things in between, as he's teaching us and guiding and directing us to pursue the things that he has called us to, whether we are completely 100% healed or 50% broken or even completely percent couch bound. He sees us and he knows us. And so some of the things that the Lord has taught me in this is that he knows us intimately. Nothing is hidden. We want people to perceive specific things about us. We want them to see us all prim and proper and done up. And yeah, we're great. It's so good. And all the time we have stage 4 endometriosis growing in our bodies. We have things growing in our minds and festering. There's anger and there's frustration and there's anxiety and there's depression and there's all these things that grow on the inside that nobody knows about. But we know that the Lord knows us intimately, that nothing is hidden. We know that God's design was intentional. He created us. He created me 26 years ago, knowing full well that I was going to have stage 4 endometriosis and have to have laparoscopic surgery. And instead of it being outpatient, me being put in the hospital for the night and have a lot of weird crazy going on. If you want to hear that story, I'd love to tell it. But he knew that. His design was intentional. These scars that are on my body are not just going to be a reminder to me, but are going to be a reminder to other people that the Lord is good and he's sovereign and he provides and he saves and he restores and he redeems. And I cannot wait to tell that story, but I'm not at that point in the story yet. And that's okay. We know that God's presence is constant, that he's with us. And it was very evident when we were going into surgery that he was with us. There was like a peace that just surpassed understanding, even with my massive anxiety and my massive worries, that he is just constant and his presence is amazing and he loves us and he sees us. And so for the moment, before I start crying even more, I want you to think about what parts of you feel unseen. Just take a minute, assess on the inside, whether it's in your physical body, whether it's in your brain, whether it's in your emotions, what parts of you feel unseen, and can you trust God with those? Because he not only sees you, but he knows you intimately. He created you intentionally, and he is always with you. And he calls us wonderfully made. So, before I keep crying, I want to encourage you that maybe you're walking through something that's invisible to you. An illness, a heartbreak, a transition that nobody else is going to understand. I want you to remember this, that nobody else may really want to know what's on the inside, but God does. And what he sees, he doesn't reject it. He doesn't dismiss it. He calls it good and purposeful and wonderfully made. So, your life updates aren't always pretty, as we see the state of me at the current moment. But the reminder that Psalms 139 says is steady, that God sees it all and he calls us wonderfully made. Whew. It's been a day. I would love to hear your feedback. I would love to hear your encouragement. And I would love to walk through crazy, unseen circumstances with you too. So if you need a friend or a buddy or just someone to chat about, feel free to comment. If you know me personally, feel free to text me, Instagram, DM me, and I would love to talk to you about it. If this encouraged you at all, will you share this episode with a friend who might need the same reminder? That they're seen, that they're loved, that they're becoming, that God sees the hidden things. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe to the podcast so that you don't miss what's next on here on the Not Just Waiting podcast. So, until next time, remember, you were seen, you were known, and you were wonderfully made. Bye, friends. Thanks for listening to the Not Just Waiting podcast. I hope today reminded you that even in the in-between, God is working, and you are not alone. If this episode encouraged you, would you share it with a friend? And don't forget to hit follow so you never miss a moment of truth, hope, and real conversation. You can find me on Instagram at rihanna.ivy.hoff and join the community over on Substack for deeper reflections and weekly encouragement. Until next time, take heart, friend. God is in the waiting with you.